Joe Gemmell, 35214 North Chino Lane, Carefree, thank you. One quick comment. Putting a sign where one does not currently exist as a test is, in my opinion, a fait accompli. In other words, you're going to achieve what you set out to achieve. What's the measure? That the stores in the Mariachi Plaza are going to be busier? Well, of course, because there's no sign there currently. No one complains about this test sign? Well, of course, because you're giving them an option to the one they're currently complaining about. Over the last few years, I've been privy to many public meetings regarding signage issues in Carefree. Starting back in 2007, when my husband Bob Gemmell was on council, the issue of poor directional signage became very apparent. After much discussion and many meetings with the town, residents, merchants, and even the architect who designed El Pedregal, a new sign was born. It looked like our town emblem, the sundial. It was a natural colour for the desert, rust brown. It was the shape of the sundial, slanted, and had banners on it in varying fonts pointing to the restaurants, boutiques, and galleries. And apparently, after approximately $40,000 in design, construction, and installation fees, the public and merchants alike didn't like them. They look nice, but they don't work. They're not obvious enough. It was a waste of money. They're hard to read, need more colour, you can't see them at night, and so on. So 3 years later, as a member of the CBA, I again attended many public meetings to discuss signage. Something bigger, something more obvious, something less generic and more of them. These were the issues that were raised at those meetings. After many meetings that included all the merchants in the district, plus the residents, the Town Council in 2009 unanimously, with one absentee, approved the signage that you now see on the medians around Carefree. And these signs were designed and installed. And now once again, apparently, the public doesn't like them. They are the colours of the Arizona state flag. They show actual business names in Carefree. They've been paid for by every business who is featured on the sign, and those dollars go directly to the marketing budget. Personally, after 10 years in business, I was more than proud to finally see my business's name on a major road leading into the town. Yes, I do have a personal interest in my comments. And let us remember, our town sits with its back to all major roads that run through Carefree. Unless we say it loud and very clear that merchants exist in the main core of the town, the casual tourist will drive right through and onto Cave Creek. We know from previous surveys that most locals and a large percentage of Carefree citizens do not shop with us, and they do not dine with us. We know from previous surveys that a property tax is a very bad word. We also know that the town derives 50% of its revenue from sales tax dollars, and yet again, here we are debating the aesthetics of signage. We all know the ideal racing horse, if designed by a committee, will end up looking like a camel. I ask this council, please let's not waste any more time and money debating an issue that already works for the town. We all have our own perceived notions of what we think would look aesthetically pleasing, what would be the best looking sign, and none of us would agree that our ideas would be the same. We already have a sign. It's up, it's working, and it's been paid for. Let us remember that sales tax revenue has increased. Traffic to the town is increasing. Merchants' confidence is on the rise. We finally have a presence on the main roads into our town. Do we really need to throw this away just because some of us don't like the picture? If we have a signage problem, I would respectfully suggest it is the lack of directional signage once a visitor enters onto Easy Street, or the lack of signage for the new Carefree Desert Gardens, or the confusing arrows on the roundabout that send traffic to the right as soon as they enter Wampum Way or Carefree Drive and send them away from our merchant district. I hope we are going to continue with the optimism that I can feel in this town, rather than take several steps backwards to create additional signage and majoring in minor details instead of spending our tax dollars on something else. Thank you.
Lynn Hitchin, 6125 East Little Hope Place, Carefree. people, it's human nature to complain, but it's not human nature to give compliments. I have actually heard from a lot of people, and not merchants, I mean just people that I know and talk to who live here, that think the signs are pretty and colorful and that they do attract attention. There is no sign that you guys could do that is going to be more tasteful and prettier than the sundial signs that we have now that people aren't noticing. That is extremely generic. That's going to be worse than the sundial signs. Nobody's going to pay any attention to that. Like I said, you're hearing negative feedback because it's human nature to give negative feedback. If somebody is happy about something or they just don't care, they're neutral, you don't hear from them. So the feedback that you're getting, I believe, is very skewed. But I don't think that's going to work.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I realise protocol means I'm not supposed to ask you a question because you can all plead the fifth if you don't want to answer this. We're talking about a survey and survey results, and the audience, I think, is wondering what percentage of Carefree residents completed the survey, number one. And then when you talk about 83% disagreed, as a percentage of how many people actually completed the survey. That's curious to know.
415 in the first survey.
Out of 3,500 people. So perhaps we could.
Well, not everybody answered every survey.
Perhaps we could put this into perspective. That he who shouts loudest doesn't necessarily have to have their way.